Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of No More Kids in Scientology. I hope everyone is having a wonderful Sunday wherever you are in the globe. Today, guys, we are continuing to dig underneath the surface. We are continuing to pull the string in investigating and exposing the deep ties to Scientology, the troublesome ties to Scientology that Emily, the singer that was tapped to sing the lyrics of Chester from Linkin Park, has with her Scientology mother, Gail Armstrong. So Gail Armstrong is not just anybody. And today we really are going to start getting into the details of who this woman is, a woman that should be known, a woman, a mother that should be known, dumped her child in a desolate commercial building to be raised by strangers, to be raised by randoms, to live in infested cockroach rooms, as I've been literally getting emails from people that were at the pack ranch where Emily was brought up. So Emily brought up as a child in cockroach infested mattresses. The kids had to literally close their mouths so that cockroaches wouldn't go into their mouths. So the poster child of child trafficking by her mother, who did this to her, Gail literal Armstrong. This is how she decided to, pretend that she was saving a world. Imagine being a mother that leaves your child in some random commercial building, which again, all the Scientology mothers, all the Scientology Father Sea Org members decided that it would be such a great idea to have all their kids dumped in the middle of nowhere, far away from them being supervised, far away from them looking after their kids. We're talking the earliest formative years you can have, you guys. And I was one of those kids, except I was in the Mexican cadet org. So I was also born in Scientology. My parents were already ensnared in the billion-year scam when I was born. So we're talking about leaving underage kids in their most vulnerable state, at their most vulnerable stage of life, leaving them there with the most amount of dangers, as so much abuse has been reported, so much dysfunction has been reported. There's a whole book, The Bad Cadet, that everyone should really start reading, from Catherine Spolino, discussing the conditions, corroborating what we're saying right here. We all lived this hell, the children that were there. So we're highly aware of how much of a victim of her mother Emily is at the end of the day. So as a child, she was definitely victimized by her mother, Gail Armstrong. And we're really going to start talking about Gail because we're really going to try to understand who Gail is and who Gail was. And here, Aaron covered this a little bit today, but for those of you who haven't seen this video yet, this is the part where he talks about Gail Armstrong.
I do want to mention that there still seems to be a lot of uncertainty as to whether Emily Armstrong is actually a Scientologist. I don't know where this uncertainty comes from. For those of you questioning whether she is, Scientology is a very, very small world, you guys. There's 20,000 to 30,000 Scientologists in the entire world. If you're a Scientologist in one of the cities where Scientology has an organization, you know every other Scientologist in that city. Could you say that about any other religious organization? You really can't.
Only in our cult does everybody know each other. Only in our cult did we have that much exposure to random people. But imagine as a child, that's what is used to legitimize this disgusting hotel sham operation that's going on. You really, as a child, sit there at that hotel looking at all of the adults wearing military uniforms, acting like they really know what in the hell they're talking about. Completely deranged, completely deluded, completely out of their MF minds. Constantly checking, what did L. Ron Hubbard say? Oh yeah, L. Ron Hubbard said that clearing a planet and saving it was more important than my own child. So let me just dump my child away. We're talking about hotels that are devoid of common sense. In what world are children being dumped at hotels where all adults have decided to be completely devoid of common sense? Because those are the questions that the children that grew up at that hotel are asking all of our parents. All of our parents. Emily's mom, my mother, Jenna's mother, Aaron's mother, everyone mother that brought your child to the hotel. We always get the same thing. Nobody knew anything. If only David Miscavige would really be nabbed by the government, the problem would not go away for any children, because children are being put in harm's way. Children are being put to be audited, to be purification rundown, put in a sauna with disgusting grown adults in skimpy outfits is where they were having us. Where adults were telling us, oh yeah, you know, you really were my husband or my wife in another life. I think that's why I'm having so much ARC with you. That's coded language that PDF files used inside of those hotels to be able to speak to us, to be able to come at us with their sanitized innuendo words that don't mean anything to anybody. Nobody knows what being your 2D in a last lifetime means. That is very, very clear. But you know what? That was by design, not by mistake. And yes, all of us knew each other. All of us were in this disgusting, incestuous hotel where you were told any random that was a Scientologist was to be very respected, especially if they flaunted some sort of, oh, I'm really OT7, I'm OT8, I'm OT this, and I'm OT that, then you're supposed to have blind trust in them. Never mind that those were the predators that were getting full, unfeathered access to us. Those were the predators, the ones that flaunted their certificates. I'm really high up. I'm an OT5, I'm an OT4, I'm an OT7, I'm an OT blah, I'm a class 8, I'm a class blah. All these ridiculous statuses, which these adults were paying to get. They were very, very pressed to get those certificates. Inside of those hotels, those people are, you have no idea how much they covet getting a certificate inside of a hotel for completing a 2-week course, for completing 12 and a half hours of intensive interrogation, telling people time, place, form, and event of what they did in furtherance of a felony, which is directly asked for, is being data mined, as this is Scientology's blackmail operation. As much as they really want to save a world, they're saving self-admitted felons by providing them with ways for them to self-incriminate by answering questions, including not limited to, have you committed any felony for which you have not been arrested? So we would love to hear from the FBI what type of religious questioning that really is. Because baby, you need to start knocking at the IRS's office and going, yo, why are people inside of a hotel being asked if they committed felonies for which they have not been arrested, and have underage children telling them that their needle floated. So whatever felony they just admitted to in full evaporated. That's the level of law enforcement. That is the level of pathetic law enforcement that you can find in this United States as we speak. So let's make sure that that's fully clear, so no one continues to play dumb like they have for the last 74 years. It's the era to stop playing dumb. All the Scientology parents know what they're doing. They're paying to get the course. They're paying to get indoctrinated. And then they turn around and groom their child. After everything is explained to them in the Scientology materials, what type of disgusting things are going to go on. After L. Ron Hubbard writes it down, you're going to get locked up and not able to leave a hotel room. Great. Where do I sign up for that? Says the parent. And yes, if the adults are getting off on getting locked up against their will, that's on them. We are calling out on the fact that underage kids do not have the capacity to make those decisions. And our parents didn't have the capacity to, supersede our ability to have consented. They should have had the common sense to go, you know what? Not for my child. I really love it, but you know what? I'm going to wait till my child makes that decision at 21. I'm going to let them figure it out. And that's literally what we're talking about. That's what the alarm is being sounded on. And this is all the things that the Linkin Park team just glossed over, pretended it doesn't exist. Emily did tell us that, she did Scientology, but that was, long ago, and she really didn't have anything to do with it. Because that's what in the hell is giving right about now.
Every Scientologist is connected by 1 degree of separation. Emily Armstrong is a Scientologist. And even if you look on the social media profiles of her and her friends, she's still hanging out with Bijou Phillips. She's hanging out with Chris Wadhams. She's hanging out with Ben Schulman.
Chris Wadhams, another child that was in the Sea Org at the hotel. So just when he says, we couldn't be more literally in an incestuous relationship with these people because we all knew each other because, there's Chris Wadhams being in the Sea Org. Remember that flap, Chris Wadhams, that happened that got you sent to the RPF? What was it about the homeless man that you did? Because maybe you want to start, divulging that part of your situationship. For another day, you guys. But Chris Wadhams in the Sea Org with me, in the RPF with me, both underage children. I was into the RPF because I wasn't completing people on their course. Chris Wadhams was sent there because of something horrific that happened with a homeless man in Clearwater that the Clearwater Police Department knows all about, that Debbie Cook knew all about. Believe you me, every nauseating detail. Debbie Cook told us at the Thursday meeting what happened with Chris Wadhams and why he was going to be sent to the RPF. So don't anybody act confused and start asking Debbie Cook when she's going to stop cashing her checks to shut the F up about all the abuses that she literally performed on all of us as kids.
Woman, she's still hanging out with all of Danny Masterson's best friends and the members of his inner circle also.
And that's what it was, you guys. Emily didn't want to be in the Sea Org, but you know what? She ended up in the arms of the Mastersons because she has a high-ranking mother that was pulling strings. Her mother's been pulling strings all along. Her mother's been, trying to keep tabs on her as she uses her to infiltrate the celebrity circles, just like Ben Schulman, just like Luke Watson. They're all OSA and CC president babies. They get implanted next to celebrities and then they're snitching on the celebrity and they're influencing the celebrity. So yes, when Emily didn't want to be in the Sea Org anymore. She was hanging out with all the Mastersons. She was bestie Westies with all of them because everybody grows up together and go hang out with this one and go hang out with that one. So she couldn't have been more exposed to the culture. She couldn't have been more invited to all the barbecues and all the parties that they would be holding on a weekly basis. So don't think they just hung out one time and then nobody saw each other. Everybody was hanging out every single weekend. Nobody saw outside of the circle. So imagine how many parties Emily Armstrong was literally in Danny Masterson's house while all those barbecues and parties that were happening weekly. I didn't get invited, but my sister-in-law at the time was bestie Westies with all of that crowd. So I would always get told, oh, this is what happened. This is what happened. My wife at the time and I were not good enough to be hanging out with them because, you know, we were ex-Sea Org and they didn't want us on celebrity lines. Gee, I wonder why. Now it's starting to make sense why they didn't want us anywhere near celebrity lines. Now it's starting to really actually make sense.
Emily Armstrong's mother and father both worked in the Office of Special Affairs. In fact, her mother was the editor of Scientology's #1 propaganda magazine called Freedom. Freedom Magazine is a Scientology front group, all of its own. It's a publication, but it's also a front group. It's one of the main tools Scientology uses to disparage people, to attack people, whether it's former members, politicians, anyone who's taken a stance against Scientology. Freedom Magazine will be used to attack them. Emily Armstrong.
So Emily Armstrong's mother is a highly skilled editor, and she's not just writing about nothing. So don't get it confused. Some of our mothers were nothings, like my mother. My mother had no skills. My mother had no worldly any credentials outside of Scientology. She was brought into Scientology. She was maybe 21 or 22 when she signed up for it. And she never studied outside of Scientology. Emily's mother does not have that excuse. And that excuse is vital because it really goes to show you how much this woman really does have access. All of these stories about Sea Org members get painted that they couldn't have been more insular, that they were so desolate and have access to nothing. BS. Plenty of especially OSA staff members a la Mike Rinder, a la Gail Armstrong, a la all the ones that are public facing, so-called public facing. Guess what they have unlimited access to? Lawyers. Guess what they have unlimited access to? News cycles, media, training, everything. So not everyone inside of the hotel is clueless and has no idea what in the hell they're doing. They know what they're doing. They're acting with impunity. They're doing it full knowing. They write about it. They lie about it. Freedom Magazine is a magazine, and what in the hell is a so-called religion to save a planet really typing a magazine that is filled with propaganda, with government propaganda? Because that would be great to really start understanding as we're going to dig into Gail Armstrong a little deeper.
Armstrong's mother was the editor of that magazine. I'm told by people who worked with her mother, Gail Armstrong, and consider her a friend, that around 2005, she was transferred, promoted to international management to work in international management and PR. And then Emily Armstrong's own mother was one of the...
PR, you guys, key word. Emily Armstrong's mom is a highly skilled publicist, just like you saw with Mike Rinder, who sanitized L. Ron Hubbard's image, who told everyone in the world that L. Ron Hubbard was a genius and an incredible man and lied through his teeth. Well, Gail Armstrong comes from that same school of liars. All these PR people are the liars, the manipulators, the ones that talk out of every literal side of their mouth, depending on the situation that they find themselves in, depending how they want to sanitize things, depending how they want to pitch stories, as if she's not the literal editor of the magazine. So Just really keep that in mind, because I think that's really going to come into focus just in 2 minutes.
The Scientology executives imprisoned by Scientology's leader, David Miscavige. Any of you who've seen Going Clear or Scientology in the Aftermath have heard about the prison that David Miscavige, Scientology's tiny little angry leader, created at the International Management Base called The Hole, and bars welded over the windows. These people were imprisoned in this structure. Guards outside, prevented from leaving, had to sleep on the floor, had to eat the leftover slop from the cafeteria. Some of these executives were held in this prison for years. Emily Armstrong's own mother was one of the people put into that prison.
And it sucks. It sucks that they have that prison. It sucks that they have that hole. But you know what you don't find in the hole? I've never seen a single case of a child being placed at the hole. Do you know what you do find in a version that's even worse than the hole? Given that the hole was just random executives not making their target, all being shoved into their slave position, which they were vying to be. These were consenting adults that got off on being humiliated, got off on being used as whatever in the hell was being done to them. They definitely got off on it. It was part of the relationship. They were there for decades. Some are still there enjoying that consent that they do have for themselves. No one can come and tell them that they're in there. They're consenting. Emily's mom is not some woman that has no shred of a clue how the world works. That woman is a PR woman that placed her literal daughter to replace Chester. Imagine that. Imagine that.
Once she was let out of that prison, she was posted as a script writer and a video. I have the exact language that I wanted to use written down, but that's okay. She's basically a script writer for David Miscavige. Emily Armstrong's own mother works directly on the lines of David Miscavige.
So this is a woman that speaks for David Miscavige. This is a woman that David Miscavige, Mr. High School Dropout himself, David Miscavige, Mr. Child Trafficking Poster Child himself, sent from New Jersey across state lines to California to really be the slave of L. Ron Hubbard as a minor. That man who has no credentials of his own other than whatever his daddy figure L. Ron Hubbard told him, uses women such as an editor, whatever Gail's background is, to really be the editor. Believe you me, she's got to be good at making shit, literal excrement, sound good. That's how good you have to be if you're going to be the L. Ron Hubbard publicist. If you're going to be working on the PR lines of Scientology, you literally need to spin excrement into looking so great and shiny and wonderful. Just ask the IRS what type of BS pitches they were given by Marty Rathbun, David Miscavige, and Mike Rinder. And I'm sure that, the mother of Emily Armstrong, I'm sure, was on the sidelines writing all manner of stuff in their Freedom magazine, propaganda this, propaganda that, what kind of headline we can come up with to really intimidate the IRS agents. Imagine that's all it took for these people to circumvent the law, the toothless laws that are not helping or being enforced or being applied in any way, shape, or form.
She's not just someone who had a brief dalliance with Scientology. She's also, in many respects, someone who could be considered a victim of a victim of Scientology, a child victim of Scientology.
A victim of her own mother, we would add. Our mothers placed us in harm's way. As much as everybody keeps wanting to make this, Scientology is a BS term. Scientology doesn't exist. We didn't walk ourselves into the hotel. We were brought there by our mothers. They said, here you are, stay right there. All the adults that you see in this hotel, Talk to everybody. Everyone hears the people that you really want to trust. Blind trust is what these Scientology mothers give all the randoms that visit these hotels. They go with this pitch that, oh, everyone's really been vetted to be at the hotel. They couldn't be more ethical. And imagine the stupidity that they're really going with. They couldn't be more ethical because we are data mining them if they ever go and do any essay on a child. And then we launder it real quick. We handle it real quick. That is the definition of ethics that someone like Gail Armstrong is instituting as we speak. She's still going with that. We're the most ethical people in the planet that find out when someone in a hotel has literally essayed a minor and then goes around telling them that their needle floated and everything is great and everything is wonderful. And, you know, are you ready to get your next tax write-up from the IRS? Call your business manager, have them put another $100,000 on your Amex to pay to launder your image. And American Express is happy to be funding these hotels, is happy to not give an F. There's no one at American Express doing a shred of due diligence on what type of financial agreements that really are being made, as these people put everything on their American Express. So what type of things are they buying at the hotel? And why is American Express facilitating that level of unlawful transaction? We would love to know that from the IRS. We would love to know one from the top tier leadership of American Express, who you can run your American Express in any of the organizations that Scientology has. Any, just $100,000 here. Let me really buy 100 hours. Let me really buy the program, the one where I don't go to a judge, the one that I don't go and confront a jury of my peers, because, you know, they'll give you a committee of evidence at the hotel. Oh, no, don't worry about it. We have our own ethics system here, pitched by the convicted felon, that we really do follow to the letter blindly like complete bamboozling idiots. That's what we're talking about here. This is the level of illegality going on at these hotels. Meanwhile, everyone plays dumb. Meanwhile, everyone's still regurgitating. We were told it was a religious activity, what you were doing. If laundering felonies at an industrial size scale, if circumventing the law by paying a hotel and getting a tax write-off is the definition of law application, we would love to start hearing from these courts of the United States. And include also an explanation why we were made to role play slaves for these adults as children. Courts of these United States, that is the level of answer that you need to be giving to us. You need to prove to us that we were not slaves in there. And stop telling us we had a religious experience, because you know what? Wasn't happening, given that we had no access to our personal identification papers. Wasn't being very religious, given that we were, you know, brought from another country to serve in the position of being a slave inside a hotel. That's where the mother of Emily works. She's the writer of all the magazine, of all the propaganda. All the propaganda is being written by none other than this woman. Let's really take a look at, you know, the level of propaganda. So we really see how the devil literally is in the details, you guys. No more glibness, no more pretending everyone wants to really save our world when they're literally abusing kids nonstop. Here's the photo of Gail Armstrong, executive editor. She is from the editor's desk, Freedom Magazine. So let's just really skim through this article to really see what Gail is pitching here. The security of a nation is the intelligence and understanding of its people, wrote U.S. Representative John Moss, known as the father of the Freedom of Information Act, in 1981 essay. Since September 11, security has understandably dominated the United States domestic affairs. Officials and representatives accountable to the people and to the principles of democracy have made efforts to balance the need for security with citizens' rights to access the decisions and actions of their government. Few would argue that officials must act sensibly to prevent an evil-intentioned minority from accessing government information that would assist them in harming others. Damn. I think that Gail Armstrong literally just called herself out. Few would argue that officials must act sensibly to prevent an evil-intentioned minority, of which you are part of that minority. Gail Armstrong, executive editor of Freedom Magazine, Freedom Sham Magazine, propaganda magazine from hell, that you really are the executive director writing all these BS pitches. The question persists. How far can one go in restricting the law-abiding majority's right to know in order to protect them from an unlawful minority? Beginning in 1954, Moss Select Subcommittee on Government Information and Individual Rights planted the seeds of increased government accountability and the people's rights to know, at the time when Senator Joseph McCarthy's Red Scare was grabbing headlines. Oh, great to know. Great to know, Gail Literal Armstrong, that you're so educated in how the government really works. Couldn't be more educated, apparently, citing all manner of BS in your pitch. So this is an educated woman. She knows what in the hell she's talking about. She's not some cult plant that's been completely disassociated from the world, a la Shelley Miscavige. Completely two different people. A la Debbie Cook, I would argue, because Debbie Cook was stuck inside of that hotel, you know, just gargling up more videos of disgusting self-admitted felonies that she couldn't get enough of to monetize. That's what she did day in and day out. Debbie Cook didn't do anything outside that hotel. But you, Gail, you did a lot. You had a lot of access to be putting this little research together. The rewards have been extensive, far from regarding Watergate, the assassinations of John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr. to crucial White House decisions in matters of foreign and military affairs. The Freedom of Information Act and its authors intended was increase the collective intelligence and understanding of the American people. Today, for example, we can better understand forces at work shaping terrorism as revealed in our cover story. Oh, really? I mean, again, you guys, we're talking about an editor. We're talking about someone that knows how to pitch. So who's been pitching all the fake philanthropy that Scientology does 24/7, 365? Who do you have to thank for that image? Bingo, Gail Armstrong. Who's been sanitizing the legacy of a convicted felon that normalize eroding all common sense boundaries between adults and children to the detriment of said children? This woman here. So stop looking for David Miscavige and start looking for where in the hell is this Gail Armstrong, and why the hell is she really knowing how to write and pitch and, you know, investigate from one side of her mouth, and then from the other side of her mouth, she has no idea how to look up what a felony, child, neglect, coercion is, to really go, oh man, I'm breaking the law left, right, and center. Not because I'm a part of some hotel does the law not apply to me. The problem with Gail is just she's been lying through her teeth, purporting, oh, this is a highly religious activity. Meanwhile, they're hiding their hardcore scene. That's what it's called. Y'all are hardcore AF. And it's disgusting and it's depraved. And you better start literally checking yourselves and all your unfeathered access to underage kids, because that's what's getting called out. That's what we're disgusted about. That's what today needs to change. Not tomorrow, not next year when the IRS really does what? Listen to another fake pitch from Gail Armstrong? I don't think so. In October 2001, the public's right to know were usurped when even the most alert American citizens didn't know until a week afterwards. U.S. Attorney General John Oshkoff, with a single memo that month, virtually eliminated the Freedom of Information Act as we know it by encouraging agencies to take wide latitude in withholding records from the people because of the institutional, commercial, and personal private interests that could be implicated by disclosure of the information. No, you literally didn't. I mean, can you imagine this woman, you guys? Imagine being Gail Armstrong and with a straight face typing on her typewriter. Yes, virtually eliminated the Freedom of Information Act as we know it, encouraging agencies to take wide latitude in withholding records from people because of institutional, commercial, and personal privacy interests that could be implicated by disclosure of that information. What type of information do you hide at the hotel, Gail Armstrong, to really be pitching that you're very pressed that the government is not more transparent with you? Where is your transparency? Because that's what we would like to start really understanding. Why are all those files of what you did to us as children hidden in vaults? Why is that? Why is it that all of our abuse that was supervised, video recorded, and transcribed being held under, oh yeah, penitent priest? Penitent priest is a ridiculous delusion that you're holding on to purport that you recording all your crimes in real time is a defense that is gonna stand. No jury is gonna believe you. Since you were recording it all, since you were getting informed, since you were getting KR'd, since you were getting told. The problem with all the Scientology people is that they were told. The problem with all the Scientology people is that they know. That's what they got really getting off on. Oh, we all know, we all getting told. We're all so important, we're all so high up in the org board that we really need to be told this. So this woman really is typing here institutional, commercial, and personal privacy interests that could be implicated by disclosure of the information. Meanwhile, you are hiding everything you do at the hotels, especially to kids. If you convince the adults that this was on their best interest, then they can start literally hiring their own criminal attorneys. The children need and are owed advocates at this point. Challenges to this move are underway. Oh, I'm sure initiated by you, Gail, but that it could have happened without any alarm sounding is disconcerting. Nothing about our freedom is guaranteed unless we make them so. People must be vigilant and make their voices heard. Well, you know what, Gail? We are taking your literal words. Start being vigilant. The people in Linkin Park, all the members that did this to Chester's legacy, why the hell are y'all not being vigilant? Like Emily's mom is pitching here is really important that you really get your voice heard, she says. People must be vigilant and make their voices heard. Yeah, people should be vigilant of what's going on to kids inside of those hotels. And they should be making their voices heard. And the daughter that you just propped up to replace a front man that represented living with the hell that it is being committed those level of atrocities on you as a child, as we would know personally, Gail. That's what you effed up. You think your daughter can just go there and just act like what, a puppet for you, and just blurt out all these lyrics that mean nothing to her? She cannot relate to the music. She cannot relate to the lyrics. She doesn't know what in the hell she's talking about. She literally cannot know what in the hell she's talking about, given that she's still stuck with you, Gail. And yes, Emily, you want to come out of this problem? Start confronting who your mother is and what she did. Start confronting the type of criminal complicity your mother has in having bamboozled all of our parents, mind you. Guess who was getting the Freedom magazines in our house every month. Here's a new Freedom magazine. Here's a new Freedom magazine. And our parents were reading all this garbage spewed by your own mother, lying through her teeth that she cares about democracy and that she knows that everything she was doing inside of those hotels was illegal. They all know it's illegal. The only thing they are really highly relying on is, freedom of religion. And that's all they have to have gotten away with so many criminal acts that they perpetuate on underage kids who cannot consent to be part of that level of dysfunction, who don't consent to be part of it, who need to be defended, who need to be protected, who are owed that by this country. Yet all they got is a slave contract to make child slavery great again, right under the oversight and watchful eye of Gail Armstrong, Miss Know-It-All about how the government works, Miss Know-It-All about what agencies are communicating with what type of Freedom of Information Acts are being communicated when, what type of changes are going on in the law that are highly, highly intelligent. So this is what you call a predator. This is what you call a predator woman pitching disgusting propaganda to, again, bamboozle all the adults inside of the hotel. My parents don't have an education. They were that stupid. They would read this and go, oh, look, she sounds really like she knows what she's talking about. So what she said. My parents were immigrants from Mexico. They didn't even finish college themselves. They have no profession. They have nothing. All they had was L. Hubbard and being very proud of being part of this racketeering child trafficking scam. That's what my parents had. Not all our parents are the same. Apparently yours, Emily, is worse than anyone could have possibly imagined, given what your literal mother was doing at the hotel, day in and day out. For how many decades? That's what you call skin in the game. That's what you also call criminal liability. Not liability like the hotel formula that L. Hubbard really did say, make amends and find out who your friends are. Criminal liability. From pitching BS nonstop for the last however many decades that woman has been at OSA asset to really prop up this disgusting child trafficking scheme. That breaking news to all Scientology parents, you couldn't be more up to your neck and ears in complicity. So yes, it's every single Scientology parent that brought their kid to get audited, ethics handled, and put through disgusting grooming courses. The 3 pillars of Scientology, the 3 things that the adults in that hotel love to get for themselves. You can find plenty of success stories. Oh my God, this couldn't have been more amazing. Oh my God, I couldn't have gotten off. I blew so much charge. That's what these adults are saying, that they're getting off on it, that they're blowing charge, that they're really getting somewhere. And it's time to check that level of delusion. You can't be getting somewhere by abusing kids. You can't be getting somewhere by enslaving kids. You're not getting anywhere. You're all gonna land in a federal prison when the FBI finally catches up to your disgusting criminal scheme. That's what's gonna happen to you. So yes, you need to be told the truth. Yes, you are owed cradling and canoodling. You can go hire your own criminal attorney. You can lay the facts on the table. You can start figuring out what type of defense you can really mount to really, explain to the rest of America why abusing kids at an industrial size scale is what y'all are calling religion in your hardcore scene hotel, full of disgusting role plays pitched by convicted felon fraudster L. Hubbard. Gail Armstrong is not I didn't know any better, and no. She's deeply involved in politics. She's deeply involved in propaganda. She's an asset for David Miscavige. She's been delegated to handle this part of the scheme. So she's a top tier co-conspirator in this racketeering scheme. So everyone can stop playing dumb already with the kids that were scammed by your propaganda, Gail. Given that your Freedom magazines is one of the things that apparently they told us at the hotel that, oh, everyone at the IRS was so pressed because Freedom magazine was publishing dirt that they were getting on the IRS agents. And that's all it took for those agents to not give an F and place all of us, the kids, in danger. Because that's what we're talking about. A 1993 decision was made where the IRS says it's okay to bring child slavery back into America. We're going to call it a religion, and we're going to monetarily incentivize it. The more kids you bring, the more you make them slaves, the more you make them audit, the more you make them deliver courses, the more you put them in front of disgusting degenerates, telling them self-admitted felonies, the more we're going to reward that. So yes, the blood of our abuse is also on the government's hands. It's all over Congress walls. It's all over FBI headquarters. It's all over the Clearwater Police Department, and it's all over the LAPD, who are all very going with the pitch. They're a religious thing. Do whatever. Help yourselves to whatever kids you want. Bring them from other countries. Lock up their passports. Better luck next lifetime for all of that unlawful activity to be happening 24/7, 365. It couldn't have been more extreme. It couldn't have been more all over the place. And this is something that everything I say here, you guys, is something that every Scientology parent knows. They don't have to have been in the Sea Org to know this. Imagine that. Imagine everybody thinks, oh, just the people that are at the hotel with the uniforms are the ones that are really out of their minds perpetuating all these crimes. No, sir. Again, our mothers brought us there by hand, put us in harm's way, normalized it, groomed us. If we complain to them, they double down and triple down, and you better like it next time, or else we're going to abuse you more. That is disgusting. That is a Scientology mother. And they need to be told to stop. They need to be told, get your actual legal ethics in. Stop going to a hotel to get your ethics in. Go and get your legal ethics in, because that's the new term that's being coined as of the year 2024. Ethics by L. Ron Hubbard is canceled. Every single Scientology parent better start getting their legal ethics in. Go get a criminal attorney. Go figure out, by paying to that criminal attorney, by having to sit with that criminal attorney, all the facts. How many kids did you enslave in the Sea Org? How many children did you dump in desolate commercial buildings to be abused? How many? Because the more you ensnared your own kids in this, the more the criminal complicity is going to land right in your feet. And you know what? You're not just going to write some cacamimi story on a paper inside an ethics officer inside a hotel and go, la, 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 la. This is my liability formula. Everyone approve it. Oh, I'm such a higher condition. It's those level of ethics handlings that are canceled now. Your liability conditions that you do at the hotel are this: useless, toothless, ridiculous, and not helping your case. Your criminal case is not being held by you all playing dumb. It's what it's called. And if we didn't give an F, we would let you. We would let you stay there at the hotel. We would let you continue hurting each other. But given the simple fact that you do it to kids, we are pressed. We're pressed as fuck. And I invite every child that was abused inside of the Scientology hotels, start becoming an advocate. You have it in you. Whatever was done to you as a child is being done to another child. So the more of you that can come on the record, the more of you that can open your eyes, the more of you that are willing to confront the facts on their face so that it does change the environment for the kids that are there today. That's all that matters. Your childhood is gone. You can thank your parents for that. Your childhood is ruined. All of our childhoods were ruined. We cannot even find well, this was a great example of a childhood. There is no great example of no childhood because all these degenerates were blindly following the advice of a convicted felon that everybody knew was a convicted felon, that everybody knew was a disgusting person, especially Emily's mom, especially Mike Rinder, especially the people that work at OSA, fluffing up the image, making excrement pass as whatever in the hell these people are smelling inside of the hotel. It couldn't be more obvious and it couldn't be more disgusting. And that's why it matters. It matters that everybody wakes up. Linkin Park couldn't have effed this over more if they literally tried. Because again, Emily's not just, a kid that grew up in Scientology. It's like all of us. You have the mother that was making and writing the propaganda, Emily. So another thing for you to have to explain, another thing for you to have to excuse. You better start defending your mother now. You better start telling us what in the hell she was writing. Because, the pitches that she wrote couldn't be more easy to literally debunk. And I'll read you what I was going to put in the description box, but then I was like, who literally cares? We're not even going to write that. But this was, for all of you that care, this is what we're saying. The article, Our Best Security from Freedom Shem magazine, is yet another attempt by Scientology to deflect from its deeply unethical practices. While it claims to defend human rights and individual freedoms, this narrative is hypocritical AF. Scientology is notorious for violating basic human rights, child trafficking us, including coercing us and grooming us as children in so-called religious settings that were literal torture chambers. Rather than addressing these abuses, this organization continues to vilify its critics, creating a facade of victimhood. So give it up to Scientology Mother of the Year, Gail Armstrong, to come up with a pitch where she always makes herself the victim of everything. It claims of supporting democracy and liberty crumble under the weight of its own abusive actions, the manipulation and the exploitation of vulnerable children at an industrial size scale. By framing itself as a beacon of freedom, literally Freedom Magazine, you guys, Scientology continues to mislead the public while covering up decades of systemic abuse and trauma inflicted upon its members, especially the kids, who are groomed into a life of submission and slavery. This false narrative cannot hide the fact that this organization is complicit in some of the most egregious violations of child trafficking times in modern era. So we are on to you, Gail Armstrong. You're the one that was writing the fake pitches. You're the one that's been propping up these hotels, pretending that y'all have an agenda to really save a world. Meanwhile, you're just literally helping yourselves. And that is disgusting, and that is unacceptable, and that is getting called out. Fat Cat's Heaven. I keep getting so many LP articles and pages on my feed. There are thousands of people commenting who don't know Scientology or can't even see anything wrong with it. Forget the deep dives. Shorts needed. Thank you, Fat Cat Heaven. That is a good point. Again, you guys, the misinformation war that we're having to literally take on ourselves, the kids that were abused. It's now up to us to fix the problem that we didn't even consent to be a part of. Imagine that. So yeah, more shorts are needed, more information is needed, because not enough people know, not enough people have cared. Too many people have been fed the BS pitches, the sanitized pitches of the corporate media. It's not our job to do the corporate media's job. That's their job to investigate. That's their job to report. Never mind that they always report complete BS, watered down things that have nothing to do with the problem. But, let's get the word out. Sandy Hill, may I suggest a world that needs saving by abusing your child is a world not worth saving? Absolutely. Gail, take this literal constructive criticism. Because, I mean, again, you guys, like, did we want our parents to be involved in this? No. I wish they would have never been involved. I wish they would have had the intelligence. I wish they would have had the tools to understand that they were getting bamboozled, to understand that they were getting scammed, to understand that they were getting lured and seduced to normalize the most disgusting, unthinkable, abominable things. A truly disgusting, hardcore scene is what's going on in those hotels. And the fact that they don't smell that level of disgustingness just shows you how much they've been paying for their indoctrination. So for the 10th billion times, yes, it sucks to be an adult that pays to be indoctrinated and misinformed by the likes of Gail Armstrong, by the likes of Mike Rinder, by the likes of L. Ron Hubbard, by the likes of any of those people that were advancing and doing the bidding of convicted felon L. Ron Hubbard, because they were really, really pressed for that. So yeah, Gail, a world where children are getting abused, full knowing, is not a world worth saving. So by all means, get out of the hotel ASAP. Merited with love. 3-letter agencies cherry picks the Sciento info on these people to leverage the money gains they control. Bingo. Bingo. How much of Hollywood is involved? As if the biggest so-called movie star of the year, Tom Cruise, is not a top-tier member. That's what Scientology has purported to really want to front to everyone. That's why Emily's being made a celebrity. That's why Emily is being planted in positions of influence. That was L. Ron Hubbard's program from the beginning. Get a lot of influencers to really sanitize our image. Let's really put Rebecca out there with the housewives. Let's really put, Emily to sing with Linkin. Let's really put Tom Cruise and John Travolta to really, talk to Oprah and to really go and sanitize their image. Meanwhile, they're disgusting child trafficking ridden hotels. And the 3-letter agencies couldn't be more asleep at the literal wheel if they're not actually in cahoots with them, a la IRS. Paralyzed to paralyzed. Mom should have helped Emily write a better BS apology. Well, imagine that the mom probably literally wrote this apology, you guys. I mean, when you read it, it sounds like an apology that you would have written when you were being handled by ethics. Understand, Emily is in a lot of ethics trouble right now for what she did. So realize that she's not having a great time right now. Any negative thing that is being spoken about, any negative attention being brought to Scientology is being blamed on her right now. And that is why that sanitized BS apology from ethics at the hotel is all you got. You don't have anyone with Emily working with real PR credentials, because the Scientology also vets the type of PR people that can be on the cycle, is what they call it. No one can talk to Emily that is not an approved handler. That's how they corral the celebrities. Everybody has handlers from the president's office to really, this one's approved to talk to them. This one's not approved. Who's going to handle Emily's ethics? Who's going to help her do this? So the mom was all over the PR statement, you guys. But again, imagine a psychopath like that would type things that are so disassociated from the fact that she, on the one hand is highly educated, on the one hand is highly researched, on the one hand has had access to the outside world all over the place. Emily's mom is the antithesis of a cult person. She knows how the government works. She knows how lawyers work. She knows how laws work. She cannot be the editor of this BS magazine if she didn't have those credentials. She needed to sound like she knew what in the hell she was talking about. So there's the proof. The proof is in the literal pudding. Sea Org Rescue. The good news is that this Lincoln debacle is bringing more attention to COS, more black PR. I mean, more real PR because, yeah, but agreed. I mean, again, It's highly insulting because it doesn't belong. It's so weird. And that's why, again, you guys, the investigation isn't over, because going back to investigation 101, when something doesn't make sense, pull the string and find a Sherman tank behind this. It makes no sense that Emily just la-di-da-di-da ended up there, la-di-da-di-da, just all of a sudden became the lead vocalist. Doesn't make sense. It's so, what, how? So all of that is due to manipulation behind the scenes that Scientology goons plan 24/7, 365 to create and to plant their own celebrities and people of influence that they're going to really show to the people at the hotel. And that's what the celebrities are literally addicted to. Oh, you're going to tell everyone how great I am? Oh, okay, great. I'm so happy. That's what Nancy Cartwright wants. That's what Emily wants. That's what all the people that are on celebrity lines want. They want to be told that they're so special and, you know, they're the real OTs of Scientology. Imagine that's how it all gets pitched. Gypsy, thank you so much for your super chat, Gypsy. Thank you. I'm listening. Let truth come soon for good of all and save lives, because kids cannot consent. Exactly, Gypsy. You know what? The truth will set us free. That is the fact. The truth is disgusting. No child wants to wake up knowing that your parents were out of your mind, deluded, and put you in harm's way, full knowing. No child wants to have that cognition for themselves. No child can almost think it. How many children have we already lost? Because when you have to really start reconciling those details of your disgusting childhood, we know how much of a toll it takes on your mental health. And that's why it's important to continue to expose this and to demand answers that make a shred of sense, because we are owed answers at this point. Nothing is making any sense at all. SEAL Rescue, David Miscavige has ordered a car to run down Mark Yeager with a car. It seriously injured him. Yeager being an executive for years, Miscavige has done far worse than the whole. I didn't know about that, about the car, SEAL Rescue, so I don't know if you were there to witness it, but it's horrible. Tom, children are adults in little bodies. Is this why Scientology is so full of PDF files? I mean, really ask yourselves, you guys. And again, I've never made the point that every single person in there is a PDF file. But for the ones that are PDF files, for the ones that are looking for that, they have the perfect hotel environment. Everything is going to be done for them. Everything is going to be done for their benefit. Just ask Debbie Cook how many PDF files she was able to help. And they're proud of helping them. Oh my God, look, our life-changing technology really floated all those things. So, Marquita, thank you. Tara, I'm stunned FBI haven't moved on this info. I mean, Tara, the FBI didn't move on Jeffrey Epstein. The FBI didn't move on Larry Nassar. The FBI has only a track record of sabotaging, derailing all investigations to do with children being at risk. I mean, the FBI's motto at this point must be better luck next lifetime, because we don't have enough resources at the FBI to do our job. We don't give an F if children are being trafficked by our borders willy-nilly. I mean, again, it's like they have all the data from the ICE, all the kids that land at Tampa airport that nobody gives an F about. I mean, there's just so many things that don't make sense, given how many kids have been brought through this scam. And that's what we're talking about. Exactly, Zero Rescue. Putting your kids in the donation basket to get absolution for their crimes and withholds. I mean, we were pawns. We were pawns in a scheme. So are you, Emily. You are a pawn in a scheme. It sucks to be you. It sucks to have your mother. But hopefully, if you start rescuing yourself, if you start putting an oxygen mask yourself, if you go to a real therapist, if you really start confronting your past for what it is and start escaping it, then you can actually prepare yourself to really step in the feet of the legacy and the icon that you were vying for getting the hat. But you cannot wear the hat when you don't have the spine. See how that works? So you cannot wear the hat of Chester. You cannot be the lead vocalist of a band, life-saving band that for so many of us was a lifeline, if you don't grow a spine. Spineless on a stage you can find in every corner of the world. Chester had a spine. Chester had authenticity. That's why people connected. That's why he's an icon. That's why he's lived throughout his legacy. That's why people are still listening to him. He will still continue to listen to him. And the only saving grace of any of this is hopefully he is happy, as you know, like someone else said, at least is bringing attention to all these kids being abused, which is something he did care about. So we do thank him for that. And we do thank you for that, for putting yourself in this situation. And hopefully you take the constructive criticism. Hopefully you don't project onto us that, oh, we really are being so mean to you. No one's being mean to you. We're telling you what it is. We're eroding the delusion for you. We're saving you years of therapy, years of BS pitches, years of you having to figure it out on your own. You're literally being spoon-fed the information. It's up to you now to go double check. It's up to you now to call an actual therapist. It's up to you now to call the actual lawyers that you have on your team that apparently must be also OSA approved. So get rid of anyone that your mom is putting there for you to continue to be ensnared, to continue to be deluded, and to continue to be used as a pawn. Because even you don't deserve to be used as a pawn, quite frankly. We wish you to wake up. That's what we want. What are the criteria that Scientology meets to make it a religion? At best, a self-help group, maybe, but a religion is laughable. Seriously, what makes a religion with the government? Yes, Andy. I mean, and again, it's like the false pitch. It's like there cannot be a convicted felon writing a bunch of rhetoric, completely out of his mind, completely deluded, completely a criminal, and then he institutes these policies that his sycophants go and follow to the letter. That's the problem with Scientology not being a religion, because again, it's the policies of a convicted felon that are being enshrined as being above the law. And you know what? For 74 years, yes, all it took in America to circumvent all the laws for children to be abused in the most unthinkable, disgusting ways is that. Imagine how pathetic the law really is for kids. Imagine how little you really actually get help from these people, because everyone around you plays dumb. And again, you guys, we are speaking for the kids that don't have the capacity to understand this. And I think that's really key to really know. Anybody that was there as a child can now be a voice of reason, given the fact that you do know what is wrong and you saw it. She's pure evil. I mean, again, you guys, it's like she's showing us that she knows what in the hell's going on in government, but in what world is she not aware that she's running a child trafficking scheme? Because that's what we want answered today. How can you claim, Gail, that you know everything about the Freedom of Information Act, but you have no idea about child trafficking? You have no clue what that is? You have no access to research that? How does that work? We would love to really know how that works. Jeff, this Linkin Park thing is really pissing me off, Serge, because Chester Bennington campaigned against child abuse. And he thinks that Emily joining the band is an affront. I mean, it is, Jeff. It's a total affront. And that's why, you know, we're not resolved on it. I mean, Emily's apology is literally making things worse. Instead of making it better, she's making it worse. Because, like I said, she could be the replacement for Chester. She could repudiate all the grooming done to her as a child pitched by a convicted felon, groomed personally by her mother, or the random adults that mother left her with when she was at the Pack Ranch. And then she could be singing those lyrics. She could actually mean what she's talking about, but it's going to require her actually growing a spine. You want to sing Chester's lyrics? Grow a spine. That's it. You can grow it now that you're a grown adult, Emily. You can grow it at any time. It's going to be your decision to grow that spine. Thank you, Robert. Yep, delusional for Lucifer. I mean, it's the vibes that we literally are getting, you guys. Mainstream media outside of Scientology or anti-Scientology movement, there is a massive outcry in the negative what or who LP have chosen. Yeah. Yeah, no comments from the other members of LP either. I mean, and again, you guys, like, they've literally already had podcasts, interviews where they're talking about, oh yeah, we've known Emily for years. Turns out that they were hanging out with Emily back in 2019. Turns out that they were recording things with Emily before the pandemic. So 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, and nothing raised a red flag in 6 years. Because again, the bandmates have gone on a whole rigmarole about how, oh yeah, we really knew how this was a very important thing to do and really make sure that we had the right person in place. In what world did you take 6 years to not even find out who Emily was, who her mother was, how antithetical to Chester this replacement would be, given the fact that she's singing his songs? If they would have done another band, you guys, and called themselves literal L. Ron Hubbard way, there would be no backlash. They would literally be like, okay, well, she was doing Dead Sarah before. She was allowed to sing Dead Sarah, but it's who you're speaking for, given the fact that all those concerts are going to be singing songs that you cannot relate to Emily. Because once again, for the 10th billionth time, what people related to in that band was those lyrics, that delivery, that authenticity, that level of transparency and vulnerability. If you don't show us transparency, if you don't show us vulnerability, then you are just a little karaoke add-on to this band. G Buddy never in. It's so frustrating to know that there are second and third generations are still there caught up in this crap and are afraid to stand up. The adults no longer need grace from anyone. I mean, again, you guys, like, abusing kids does not call for grace. Abusing kids full knowing calls for outrage, calls for people that are rightfully incensed over something that, again, if we don't understand, that if we don't advocate for those kids stand no chance, just like Emily stood no chance. Who was outside of the Scientology buildings raising alarm bells when Emily was locked up there for herself? Nobody. Who was outside the hotels raising alarm bells when I was locked up with a PDF file for 2 years in Florida as a child? Nobody. Nobody has raised the red flags. Nobody has raised the alarms. All adults that are implicated in this are very mutual out roots, is what they call it inside Scientology, you guys. So let's teach everyone this word so you really understand what this is. But this is a term that L. Ron Hubbard literally teaches the people that pay to get indoctrinated by him. Mutual out. Again, this is with the BS terms that they come up with. Mutual out roots, your rudiments. This is short for rudiments. And again, the words don't mean anything. They're just pompous things, but they just coin them into things. So don't get caught up. Mutual out roots should mean nothing to anybody, but this means that everyone on the internal agreed to something. And then because of that group agreement, they all become blind, deaf, and dumb. So they no longer can spot it, right? Because they've been mutual out roots about it. Oh, so you're abusing your child? Oh, you're abusing your child? You're trafficking your child? You're also signing up your child to be a slave? Okay, then it must be okay, because, you know, we're all doing it. We're all doing it at the hotel. So that's what we're talking about with mutual out roots. All Scientology parents became mutual out roots. They all abuse their kids. They all traffic them. They all dump them at a hotel. They all purported to really want to save our world while literally exposing kids to hardcore role plays. So by all means, Emily Armstrong's mother, type your next Freedom magazine and tell us, give us a pitch, give us your best pitch to sanitize how hardcore role plays pitched by a convicted felon, L. Ron Hubbard, where we could not say no, where we could not escape, where we had no safe word as children as we were being audited and interrogated during disgusting sessions that went on for hours on end, literal torture chambers. Make that, pitch that to us as religious freedom. You literally call your magazine Freedom? What type of freedom are we talking about here? What type of freedoms did you give yourself? Because that's the problem with these people, you guys. They always play the victim. Oh, we're being so marginalized because they don't want us to practice our religion that we really do want to do. And we're so misunderstood is what all of these disgusting degenerates went to the IRS with. This is what all these disgusting degenerates do when they go and hire lobbyists in Washington to really push their agenda around. There's a lot of dark money being passed around. So yes, the government is up to their neck and ears in sponsoring child trafficking at an industrial size scale. So let's stop pretending and let's start forcing them to actually do something. It's that infuriating. Pray God deliver those children. Yes. Every child in there today, Emily, is what we're asking you to start accounting for. How many children are there today? Because we got plenty of current evidence in our live streams of kids being deposited inside of those hotels, being dropped off, to be audited, to be put in grooming courses, to be given ethics handlings, and to be told that they're disgusting degenerates because, you know, they pulled in getting essayed. Can't wait until they make her atone for her behavior. Thank you, I am Shalene. I mean, this moment calls for atonement, you guys. That's what it calls for. Scientology parents, atone for what you did. Stop deluding yourself that you were helping anybody but your deluded self. If you have any complaints, file them with L. Ron Hubbard and his top commanding officers and lieutenants. That's where you can take your complaints if you really want to be a Scientology parent that, you know, wants to go, oh, the kids are just being so mean to us today. Because we get those comments all the time. And you know what? This moment doesn't call for your feelings. Your feelings are irrelevant given that the problem is alive and well. And given that there is no shred of Scientology parent out there with the FBI knocking down doors, literally telling them, becoming cooperating witnesses so that these cases can be built and that these unfettered access to children is stopped. Imagine all the Scientology parents on the sidelines today have done nothing to change what they all created as a mutual our roots agreement. It took all of them to agree that children were fair game. It didn't take one adult. It wasn't all Mike Rinder's fault. It wasn't all Gail's fault. It wasn't all David Miscavige's fault. It wasn't all Shelley Miscavige's fault. It wasn't all Debbie Cook's fault. It wasn't all Claire Headley's fault. It was all adults in the entire hotel that did that. All of them are aware. All of them entered the hotel. All of them got serviced by children. All of them think there's nothing wrong. Their public record reflects that. So go and double check what the parents are saying, because the parents are being called on to atone for your criminal activity so that it stops, so that no more kids have to go through what we went through. There was an event last night at Blue celebrating that event. Oh my God. Who would ever believe that one day America would provision tax exemption to a child grooming and human trafficking call by calling it a church? Nah, it's the year 2024, time to awaken. It's just that time, you guys. It's just that time. We just about had enough of the playing dumb game and the stalling game. And oh yeah, maybe next lifetime the IRS is really want to, reconsider what they've already been on the record doing for what? 1993. 2003, 2013, 2023. It's like we're talking 31 years of the IRS being complicit, giving self-admitted literal PDF files out so that the courts of these United States don't got to do their goddamn job. They were outsourcing us, the kids, to do their job. Imagine that. Imagine Debbie Cook was like, oh yeah, find those felonies that person committed and bring them back to me. We were being co-opted as intelligence assets. We were children, for crying out loud. What type of KGB degenerate operation is being run by these people? What is it? In what world is everyone still confused in the year 2024 what it is, when L. Ron Hubbard's literal rhetoric has been out there for all the investigative journalists to, connect the dot, investigate, pull a string, find out that if it says on the document to lock up a child against their will, maybe write about that. Maybe. But again, they go, oh no, I wouldn't want to bring up a religious policy letter that a convicted felon wrote. The Tampa Bay Times doesn't want to write about that because they're very pressed to insult the grown-ups that are all about doing this to children. So imagine the blood that is on the Tampa Bay Times hands. They're very pressed to not insult the adults that really want to purport, our first religion right, we can do whatever, nobody come and say anything about us. Well, those days are over, because it is the enablers that made us suffer. It's the job of the Tampa Bay Times to report and investigate, and they've been nowhere doing any shred of real investigation, getting to the bottom of nothing, to the detriment of all children trafficked to the state of Florida through the Tampa Bay airport, where there is no checks or balances, where child trafficking has been made great again by the idiots at that airport that cannot smell the crime of child trafficking, because they really go with, we were told by the IRS is religion, so never mind, go to the hotel, sign up for your billion years, get enslaved there. Oh, did they give you a religious visa? Because ICE is hooking them up. So let's not forget that the government couldn't be more implicated. Who approved our visa to be made into slaves? ICE. Yeah. So before you get confused, no, ICE. All of us that were foreigners had to go through ICE, had to go to OSA to get groomed on how to really answer the questions with false statements such as, oh yeah, I'm really going to a school there. I'm just going to study a lot, do a lot of schooling. Meanwhile, we were locked up in so-called course rooms grooming with little dolls and teddy bears, how we were going to be interrogating the adults. Meanwhile, we were being used as content creators, making those interrogations, video recording them, having everyone watch. So again, for those that really go, oh, the Scientology people didn't know, everybody knows what is done. Okay? Everybody read the book. Everybody did the course. Everybody got the audit. Everyone got an ethics handling. There is no Scientology adult there that can purport in the year 2024 that they don't know what they were getting involved in. They just hand select what they have a problem with so that they really don't get caught with the responsibility and accountability and level of atonement required to really turn a page, to really go for 74 years. Child slavery was made great again thanks to L. Ron Hubbard and his sycophants. As of this year, no longer do they get unfettered access to kids. That's why we say kids cannot consent, because it was only the kids that didn't have that level of consent to give. And given that there were so many hundreds and thousands of kids implicated, check if any of the adults are really being who they say they are, honestly. Melissa Montes, exactly. The more people that can stand up equals strengths and numbers. I mean, again, you guys, we're raising awareness. You guys are giving us this oxygen. You guys understanding, you guys hearing our firsthand testimony about what happened to us. Let's be clear. The courts of these United States slammed their doors to us. They said you were having a religious experience while we were being enslaved. It's you guys that are paying attention to us. It's you guys that are hearing what was being done. It's you guys that are actually taking it on to be an advocate, because, again, the problem is alive and well. It didn't end with us. We are adults. We grew up. We are on the flip side of this. We don't need saving. The people that need the saving are the kids that are there as we speak, being audited by Mace Kingsley, a Scientology center that only does audits, ethics handlings, purification rundowns, and discussing grooming courses on underage kids. Scientology has always targeted kids. There's not been one single year where they've not been making children their target under this false pitch that they're helping them. Again, abusing kids is not help. Melissa Montes, unfortunately, I understand the situation too well, and it has nothing to do with Scientology. I mean, Melissa, I'm sorry that you went through that, but that's why we have to have advocates when kids get abused. They need to have that. Amanda, power to the people, spread the truth and protect Chester's legacy and protect children and expose Scientology. I mean, again, expose it so that they don't get away with it. Expose it so that predators aren't comfortable lurking around hotels, being brought kids by the bucket load every week, like Debbie Cook used to do inside of those hotels. For over 17 years, that woman brought kids on a weekly basis from all over the world. Literally. It's always possible to lead a horse to water, but how does Scientology get American parents to drink it? I mean, I don't know. It's the drinking of that rhetoric, is the drinking of that Kool-Aid, is the fact that they pay so much money to get indoctrinated, and then they don't want to realize that they're just been scammed and bamboozled, and they're being, their egos are getting inflated. That's all that gets inflated inside of that hotel. Oh, really? Go get a certificate. Oh, go tell everyone that you're an OT4. That really means a lot inside of those hotels. These people pay millions of dollars just to say, I'm an OT this, I'm an OT that, I'm a class this, I'm a class that. It's just ridiculous. Hello, Marilyn. Keep on the fight, Search. Never shut up. Thank you for all you do. We're making a difference. This is not going away, and we will keep raising the volumes. No more kids in Scientology. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you for helping us advocate for this. Amazing to, again, we have so much oxygen and support because we're finally being listened to, you guys. For the first time, are the kids having a direct way for us to make our case. And the case that we need to make is the case that no other adult was making for us inside of the hotel. Nobody was pressed that we were getting audited. Nobody was pressed that we were getting ethics handled. Nobody was pressed that we were doing courses. They were literally applauding that. It couldn't be more deranged. It couldn't be more indefensible. And that's why none of this is going to ever go away. Melissa Montes, Serge, what's the name of those hotels where they are located? I'd much rather go protest outside of these hotels and let people know what's going on than in the big blue. Well, Melissa, like it's any hotel or commercial building that Scientology has. So they have hotels like the Celebrity Center has the Manor Hotel, and people pay to stay there as a hotel. And then in Florida, they have the Fort Harrison Hotel. Then they have the Sandcastle Hotel. Then they have like the Yachtsman Hotel. So the hotels is where their biggest centers are, where they're really trafficking people from all over the world to come and get the services. But Big Blue has a huge amount of people locked up in there and trapped. So, you know, we need to also protest at the Linkin Park's, you know, concert. They're going to be having a concert on Wednesday here in Los Angeles. And then you can be talking to the Linkin Park literal fans that, you know, need to know. A lot of people don't even know what Scientology is. That's what we're getting in our comments a lot, you guys. Like people are like, what does Scientology have to do with this? Or why are you suppressed about this? And I mean, again, you know, like we couldn't have ever in our wildest dream think that this was going to happen. Like Ada, thank you, Ada. Hybrid theory was released during a time I was in and out of hospitals for my mental illness. Linkin Park needs to say something. I'm so glad I'm not alone in this belief. Thank you, Ada, and shout out to you. We see you. We see all the survivors that are us banding together, forming community, empowering yourselves to speak out against those who cannot speak for themselves. That's the only journey that you have as a survivor of this disgusting, unthinkable dysfunction. And that's what we're calling on you, Emily, to do. You are trying to fill the shoes of somebody that was doing that inherently, innately. You know, he was abused and he found an outlet for his pain. And in that outlet helped so many of us contextualize our pain. So yeah, Ada, thank you so much, and shout out to you, and thank you for being here. Above average chaos, they've known that long. It's wrong to question its members of LP are now also in Scientology. Is it wrong? I mean, above average chaos, look, somebody even said that Lady Gaga was in Scientology. And that was said by somebody at the testing center. And if you know, Lady Gaga was very cozy with Tom Cruise. The problem with Scientology is that they've been recruiting a lot of these celebrities, but a lot of them now stay under the radar and they get special treatment and they get people flown to their mansions, flown to their country so that no one ever sees them at the organizations, at the hotels or the commercial buildings. So we don't know. We don't know what type of involvement they have. We know that they're not anti-Scientology because if they were anti-Scientology, then Emily would have been told that she's a PTS. So that's what's making no shred of sense as to how they not know. Because if they do know, then they have no problem with child trafficking. Then they have no problem with enslavery of underage kids, which is what Scientology is all about. And that's on the public record already. We've been putting out the info for plenty of years now. And that's what's so outrageous. We can confirm that they are Scientologists. We haven't seen the invoice. We don't know if they're getting audited. We have no insight on that. But I can tell you they're not anti. They're not anti-Scientology. And it's not good enough in the year 2024 to go, oh, well, I don't say anything about other people's religion. Sure, don't say anything about Emily's religion. Say it about the kids that are there getting abused today. You don't owe anything to an adult. You don't owe it to them. They want to be that religion, they're going to be doing that religion. They want to believe bullshit, they're going to believe bullshit. But as soon as they start bringing kids, then the conversation is a lot different. Had they met the hotels 21 and over, had all the grown adults and parents that exposed us to this gone, wait a minute, what are we doing? There should just be 21 and up. Kids do not have the capacity to be doing these disgusting extreme role plays that we're all about at the hotel. Because we know how extreme they get. We know how people get locked up and they can't leave. We know that. L. Ron Hubbard wrote it here in all of his policies. It says, if you're crying, don't end the session. If you are upset, don't end the session. If the PC says they want to leave, bring him back to the chair and strap him to the cans again and tell him that whatever he's upset about, it'll get erased by getting asked repeated questions ad nauseum. So that's what those members of Linkin Park really need to understand now. You know, if Chester is literally looking down on us, then that's what he's wanting his bandmates to do. It's like, yo, I wanted children to be helped. So look, I'm pulling the strings from above, from heaven. I mean, again, how did Emily land there? But if Chester wants the kids help, well, at least he is helping with us being able to make this point over and over, because Emily represents the antithesis of that. They plan infiltration of the music industry to further their nefarious objective in child grooming and human trafficking. It's so one-faced, unbelievable. I can't believe it. I mean, yeah, Nebulous, it's what their agenda was. So when Hubbard told them that the way that they were going to get very legitimized was by recruiting influencers. L. Ron Hubbard is the original influencer, the original brought up the term influencer and was very pressed to get as many influencers involved to really legitimize this disgusting abomination. And that's all it took. Oh my God, Tom Cruise is involved and everything must be great and wonderful. Oh my God, Emily Armstrong from Dead Sarah, that's so beloved, must be involved. And, you know, all children must be really getting treated really well there. Oh, look, Nancy Cartwright, the voice of Bart Simpson. She sounds so angelical and great. It must be that they're not abusing kids 24/7, 365 inside the Sea Org. Mary Sue, they pay money and give their children away to convicted felon L. Ron Hubbard. Scientology is good at brainwashing. And yes, Mary Sue, and they're good at grooming children, because that's what we're literally calling out. Children are groomed as they get exposed to these courses. Children are groomed to think this is normal. We had no other compass. We had no way of knowing what was normal or not. That was by design, not by mistake. The adults that exposed us to this wanted us like that. Rose Petal is abnormal. Sir, I love you. Sometimes I feel you're too aggressive, but I totally understand where you're coming from. I mean, Abby, we speak from how we feel. We don't prepare to do these lives. We don't think about it. And yes, we're talking from our own trauma. This is not happy times for us. I'm doing this out of necessity to have to make these points. I'm doing this because for too many years, too many people have felt very, very in their nice, cozy slumber, thinking about, well, you know, in America, let's have an intellectual conversation about freedom of religion and First Amendment. And how far can you stretch the First Amendment? And when is this? And when is that? And all this garbage. So yes, I know that my tone is what it is, because I can't filter it out when I speak about my childhood trauma. So anybody that can't handle it, not that you're saying that, but anybody that is too triggering, I always say trigger warning. If I'm triggering you, you know, don't be in this live. I mean, we're talking about sadistic abuse of kids. This is highly triggering, sensible things. And again, because it happened to us, because we're survivors of childhood essay ourselves, systemic, disgusting, unthinkable, then, the anger that we weren't able to feel while we were at the hotels because they told us, don't be angry. Your needle already floated. You should already have forgotten that you were literally essayed. So imagine that that's all coming out now today. But, Sandy, not aggressive, passionate, and even if aggressive, that is what is needed. I mean, again, you guys, if I'm being aggressive, I'm going to ask all the adults that were participating in this, where is their aggression? Where is them being upset about what happened? Because you know what we don't have is enough outrage. If this is still happening in the year 2024, it means people haven't been outraged enough, because only until people are outraged does anything change. I wish I could just come here and say, hello guys, welcome to another episode of No More Kids in Scientology. Let's have no more kids in Scientology. Okay, good night. And then the FBI would magically see my live and magically go in and magically investigate and magically find that they have hundreds of, foreign children stuck in these hotels that should not be doing role plays with adults in hotel rooms. And then we would be getting somewhere. But you know what? That's not what we're getting. So it is what it is. And exactly, Melissa, this is exactly the point. I totally agree. So many people are so blind to what Scientology is, and they don't even have the understanding of how awful it is. I mean, again, you guys, all these people that witnessed it, that were at the hotels themselves, like, yeah, I might call myself the most outraged, the most upset, the most scathing. But you know what? We were taught at the hotel how to get these people's ethics in. So we are giving them a tiny little taste of their own medicine. But this time we're doing it for the intentions that the abuse stops. They were doing deranged power trips where they would just yell and scream at us for no reason whatsoever. We might be yelling and screaming at them, but we're screaming them for a reason. There's a reason to be upset. If kids are being abused and no one is giving an F, then people need to be upset. Because again, no one being upset results in kids being abused. No one being upset and confronting the facts just perpetuates a cycle of abuse to go on ad nauseum. Mary Sue, some people who have been are essayed are really aggressive. Channeling righteous anger on YouTube to save children isn't aggressive. It's difficult to hear, and definitely take a break if needed and come back. Absolutely, Mary Sue. I mean, y'all know, I always talk the same. This is not a planned live, you guys. I mean, again, this is very hard work. This is extremely taxing because of the subject, because of our trauma. Yes, we're going to therapy, and yes, all of that, but I mean, every day being hit with the fact that nothing has changed from your childhood. And again, nobody was making these points when we were at the hotel. That's what it comes down to for me. I only speak to what would I have wished someone would have made a point about so that they wouldn't have had the unfettered access they gave themselves to perpetuate felonies on me, of which I was not capable of defending myself against, given the fact that I was a child at the time. Now that I'm a grown adult, it's taken me decades and decades and decades to figure out what was wrong with what happened. So now my only choice is to speak the voice and the testimony of what I observed. And now that I'm awake to the facts, demand answers, because we don't get answers. All we get is like these BS PR statements that are not gonna cut the abuse to the kids. No, and I don't mean to take your words wrong, Rose Petal. I said that I know that you weren't meaning like that, but I was just making a more of a broad statement, because people have come to that. I mean, you guys know there's nothing anyone can say to make me press, you guys. I was there. I know what I saw. I know what I'm disgusted, nauseated beyond belief about. So rose petal, absolutely not. I know where you were coming from. I was just talking about a broader issue. So no harm done at all. Hello, Jenny. Thank you so much for always listening. Hello, Paul on the go. Well, you guys, there you have it. That's what we wanted to discuss today. Today we discuss Scientology mother, Scientology propagandist, Gail Armstrong, that's been decades making a case for Scientology, decades purporting that Scientology is very intellectual, and look what great points they make with their great editor from a magazine that is pitching lies and that is trying to sanitize an image that there is no soap or bubbles to scrub off the depravities that are in writing to be done by L. Ron Hubbard, the depravities that all Scientology parents subjected their kids to. That's what they're expected to answer with. That's what they're expected to defend. That's what they're expected to stop. That's what they're expected to atone for. So we do have a change, and we don't have like the same thing going on with everybody playing dumb and everybody playing stupid. You know, we're talking to the point. We're delivering tough love. We want these people to stop getting abused. We want these people to stop following the words of a convicted felon. It wasn't a good idea. We already have the awareness necessary to be making these points. And that is the silver lining of all of this. The advocacy changes, the advocacy increases. We can empower you guys with knowing and connecting dots that you would never be able to connect. If you don't have eyeballs at the hotel, you wouldn't know. So we're literally delivering the facts on their face, literally telling you who abused us, when it was done, how it was done, what steps were made in furtherance of those crimes so that it stopped, so that no more kids get bamboozled like us. That's all that we can do on the flip side as trauma survivors, as childhood SA survivors. Empower others to see, oh my God, they're denouncing their abuse. Maybe I shouldn't be so scared. All these people that get told, oh my God, Scientology is very dangerous and scary. You know what's dangerous and scary? The facts. You know what's dangerous and scary? All the felonies that were committed on you as a child. That's what Scientology is very scared of. That's what all the people that don't want the actual facts to be confronted on their face want and expect. They've had the media completely manipulated and gaslit. They've had all the law enforcement agencies manipulated and gaslit. And we are literally throwing gasoline at all their fake alliances and all their sanitized PR to really go, oh yeah, I'm sure they really want to save a world by writing these things. And no, they're not saving a world. No world is being saved when children are in harm's way. So thank you guys for watching. We have more things to discuss in terms of Emily and her mom and her connection to Scientology, because there's just more. And you know what? This time calls for advocacy. This time calls for transparency. This time calls for the facts to be exposed, for the facts to be confronted, and for the people that have the power and the platforms to really actually change something, to make that change actually happen once and for all. So I want to thank all of you who watched. I want to thank all of you who listen. I want to thank all of you that are standing beside us for a day where there will be no more kids trafficked and stuck inside Scientology hotels or commercial buildings, being audited, ethics handled, or being taught disgusting grooming courses. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all soon.